I went to La Salle, which is a Catholic all-boys school, all throughout grade school till college. That's all I knew. So that's why I've stick to my Catholic faith all throughout, and I've learned how to understand it. But the thing is, I only knew how to understand it more when I grew older, and I wish I knew more about it when I was younger. Because there were times I would say like, bakit ganito na lang? Ganito na lang kasi di ko maintindihan yan eh. Yung parang I was being rebellious about it. Or like tipong, mas madali to eh. You know, it's not about difficulty. It's not about knowing what you think is right. But it's more of like what you feel also is working. Kasi that's how the journey is. Which is a journey, literally. Like your walk. When you walk, you really get from one point to another point. And it doesn't matter what that walk is. What matters is you're not stuck.
This podcast is powered by Podcast Network Asia and Podmetrics.
Welcome to the Narrow Door, everybody. Come on in. We got a special edition of the show today. Very excited. My name is Sam. I'm your host. And with us, as always, our friends. We have Instructor Harold Recio, who is instructor at New Heaven and New Earth, Shincheonji Church of Jesus. Brother JPaul Hernandez is a lay preacher at the feast. And Pastor Dennis C. is head pastor at Victory Greenhouse. And today, we have our first celebrity guest, guys. So everyone behave. We have a visitor today, okay? We have with us today singer, stage actor, Gian Magdangal. Hi, Gian.
Hi, Sam. Hello. And hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's You're saying you're telling them to behave, but I think I'm the one who wants to behave.
It's for everybody, probably mostly for myself. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Gian, I'm so happy that you could join us. Gian and I, we have, I don't remember the first time we ever met. Do you remember?
I'm not sure where the first time was, but I think the most unforgettable time that I was with you was when we went together to Korea.
That's right.
Yeah, for the CCP delegation and Department of Tourism, and because I performed there and you hosted. We were with Kyla and Ballet Philippines, and it was very memorable for me. I have to share this also to the other people, is because I was like, it's my first time in Korea, and who am I gonna? I mean, like, I want to know more about Korea, and like I'm thinking about this in the bus, and then like I just realized I'm beside Sam O, and then like I was just like double thinking it. Is she Korean?
was I a tour guide for you? During that trip?
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know I think we were in Incheon or something, and I was just thinking, is she Korean? Would it be so awkward to ask her like, so how's Korea like? Like we're in Korea at that time.
Right.
Like I just want to know what's good to eat.
Yeah. We did.
Yeah, and I think we bonded somewhat there, and then I mean, like I said, like wow, it's like the best person to be with, a host who's Korean.
That's right. Yeah, that trip was super fun. We did like a travel expo. Yeah. And here you are. You're in my podcast.
And I know. Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for saying yes. Yeah. So, we are an ecumenical podcast, meaning, we have pastors and preachers and an instructor, and they're all, kind of in authoritative positions in their churches. And although we are from different denominations, we are all Christians, and you are Catholic. Am I correct?
Yes.
So we were, prior to you coming on the show, Gian and I were kind of talking about, what our faith journey has been like and what our backgrounds are. And you were telling us about your mom. Tell us about your mom.
Well, because I grew up Catholic, my mom's very religious. I would say religious because, it's very, I think, well, I would like to assume it's like a very typical Spanish family growing up, like going to my grandma's house before when I was little. You couldn't speak English, you had to speak Spanish, and then there's a big altar, and you had to, they usually also, they would pray in Spanish, and we would go, my mom would always still be, like telling me to pray the rosary, and they even sent me to Santo Domingo to be one of the tiples, like in a choir, because I like to sing, and my mom's a musician. So I grew up with that, and I went to La Salle, which is a Catholic all-boys school, all throughout grade school till college. So grade school, high school, college, and that's all I knew. But the thing is, I only knew how to understand it more when I grew older, and I wish I knew more about it when I was younger. Because there were times like I would say like, bakit ganito na lang, kasi di ko maintindihan yan eh. Yung parang ganon, yung parang I was being rebellious about it. Or like tipong, mas madali to eh. Or tipong, dapat ba mas madali? Or parang realizing na hindi siya sa pagiging madali. Hindi siya sa pagiging, it's not about difficulty. It's not about knowing what is uh, parang what you think is right, but it's more of like what you feel also is working. Kasi it's not, that's how the journey is, which is a journey, literally, like your walk. When you walk, you really get from one point to another point, and it doesn't matter what kind of what that walk is. What matters is you're not stuck and you're still walking. I take it that way. So I feel like that's how I understood it more, and I understood how like there are days that I don't know what to say, and that's why the rosary works, and I don't know what to where to go, and that's probably where the structure is there, or I don't want to listen to other people. I just want to be quiet. I just want to be in a solemn state, and that's why the mass works sometimes. And I do admit, in some point of my walk, I have really backslid, and I actually somewhat did not believe anymore at one point, even given all of those things, because I was exposed na naman to a different world when I went abroad, for example. I met so many people who are atheists. There's nothing wrong with that. Parang yung ganun yung iniisip ko. And who am I to judge, right? Or I saw like it worked for them, so how come it couldn't work for me? And then I just realized I was there. I was hungry. I think I needed something, and I think I needed to get my center again. Plus, in music, my life is performing, telling stories, and that's my livelihood. And singing and in music, and so much of that is connected to your walk, also your faith, because my purpose of being a singer or being a performer is directly related to probably, or like I'd like to think, who I want people to see, or what image I want to show. And that's just not that you can see that it transcends through song. It's me. It's Gian. I'm not portraying just a character, but portraying myself. Not even portraying, but being myself. So I think I need to fix myself, and that's a constant struggle, and that's a constant work, learning thing. It's I'm working on it constantly, and that's why when I got to message you, I saw your post. I saw this post about you have a long post about sexuality, and it got
I
my
did.
attention. Yeah, I remember in Facebook you had no, in Instagram you had this post about sexuality. It was very courageous for you to say it, especially now as we are adults, because I remembered it. Parang I think I was just going through something at that point that leading this conversation to my son, who's like, I'm having those conversations also with my son about
How old
like
is he now?
he's 12. He's 12.
12,
But like
okay.
yeah, I get conversations with him like, I studied biology, Dad. And it's like, okay, study biology. I know what happens. you know, how do you answer those questions? How do you answer those
Right.
questions? I'm like at that point when I'm having those conversations with my son about sexuality, about sex, about how she should be aware, and how his father is not married, and how all of these mature conversations, which the backbone and how it should, which contradicts everything that I grew up with, and now I'm sending him to Ateneo Catholic School. And I have to defend myself, but showing him that, son, we're not perfect. Dad's not perfect. But we try to be. And that's why you study Christian living. And that's why I think it's a good way that's why we're aware that we are sinners going to church every Sunday, the best that we can, even if I don't go to church every Sunday, So it's a struggle. And I guess, well, now my son is probably like mature enough and seeing those things also about his father and his mother, and how we try to show him. We try our best, but we never sugarcoat it for him. And
Mhm.
that's how I think how he became very emotionally mature about things, because he asked me one time, "Dad, were you and mom married?" So there's shame about, no, we're not married. And then like, but he's there. Yeah, but you're here, and like, okay, so how come you didn't get married? Like those are very hard questions to answer. And
Right.
especially when we're raising him Catholic, raising him with all these good values, and me giving him answers that are not like, then bakit ako ganito? Bakit di nyo ginawa yun? O parang ganon. So parang it's just showing him that, like, your parents are not perfect. And it's, I think, healthy that parents should always be honest and show their kids that we struggle too, but not
Mhm.
but we do our best. We're not saying that we're perfect, but earning their trust enough that, hey, you gotta trust us also in what we're doing, with how we're guiding you. And I think that's why I'm proud about what he's become now, because he's very
Right.
independent, and that's my parenting. I guess that's my way of parenting. I'm not really a tiger dad or anything like that. you know,
Mm.
I mean, to each his own. Also, to what works. I guess this in his personality, this works too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
I'm going. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and today's, your angle towards this whole um religious podcast that we are doing with you is has to do with raising your son. And
Yes, yeah,
yeah, you could, because obviously you want to raise him with values, and you have, you brought up some things where you feel you need to work on as a parent yourself, but then you have a child to raise. And then, of course, we throw in this whole pandemic situation.
yes.
Everyone has a new normal to deal with. So, how do you navigate this parenting thing in the new normal, right?
I-
And, Pastor Dennis has 4 kids of his own. Brother
mm.
JPaul has a toddler himself. And Pastor Dennis has talked about having the, birds and the bees conversation with his kids. A quick tip, Pastor D. What do you think?
Yes,
He's
well,
12.
please help
Yeah,
me.
well, this
Yeah.
tip came from my wife. She
Oh, nice.
actually reminded me, don't have the sex talk. Don't have the one big time sex talk. Make
Okay.
sure it's interspersed in normal conversations. And that's what we have been doing. Like this morning, we were just having a conversation about getting a husband, with
Yeah,
my
yeah,
12-year-old and my 14-year-old. Both of
yeah.
them, they were saying last night, we don't want to have kids in the future. As of the moment, they're saying we don't want to have kids in the future. We don't know if we want to get married. I say, okay, yeah, you're at that age where you're saying that. But then we were kind of talking about how you need to find a godly man, somebody who doesn't just go to church, somebody who's really discipled, who's hearing from God, who's following God, because it could change the direction of your life. And so we've got conversations like that over the dining table. It's not like, can we go to the room and let's have this talk?
Yeah,
It
Mm,
yeah,
really gets
yeah.
awkward when
Exactly.
you have
Yeah.
that, birds and the bees talk. Right? Oh
Yeah,
no,
it
what
is.
daddy's gonna say, until you make it so conversational, and it's not just on that one big day, but it's interspersed throughout the month, throughout the year.
Yeah. I think that really helps, and it does make sense, because for me it has to make sense,
Yeah.
how I also explain those things, because I don't want it to be a traumatic conversation. This is what happens, and this is
right.
what you should do, and don't do this. It can't be like that ever. Like, I'm imagining myself like hearing these things, like, and I think what's happening now is like I'm also trying not to make my because my son's very independent. At the same time, it's like he's more of like, yeah, I know, and like, wait, you can't tell me that you know, or tell me what you know, or like, so yeah. And you might know now, but next Monday you might not know it anymore. So it's not about knowing, like that's the type of conversations I have with him. It's more of like remembering it. It's not a memory thing, not more of like, that's how probably we work on it with him. It's like we work on it because, like, yun nga, he brings it up with dad, like, bakit ikaw? Bakit ikaw, dad? Parang, oh, yeah, tinan mo, daddy was 26 and I had to work on it pa. Imagine, I did not know that day. So it's more of like those types of, and it helps if it's just like, it's a walk. It's still, it goes
Yeah.
back to the basic pa rin.
Mm,
Parang basic,
mm.
going back to the basics pa rin.
And I appreciate your honesty about, just how your journey has been and where you are now and how you don't have it all figured out and you are struggling along with it while you are raising a child. I just want to
Yeah.
ask, yeah, Brother JPaul, because Brother JPaul's son is turning 3 in like a month. And, we're talking about like raising tweens with Gian and Pastor D. But what about you? What is it like parenting a toddler? What
Well, it's easier said than done. But
Yeah.
I think that's what parenting is. But I'm really enjoying it. Um, I I think the best thing my wife told me, stop waiting for your kid to think like you. You have to adjust, just like Jesus went from heaven to earth. You think like a toddler.
Mhm.
So you think like him. So and all of those things. So it's really seeing the world from my son's perspective. And for example, any change of pitch, of tone in my voice, because I'm so big, I'm 5'10", and my son's like 3 something height. So just imagining seeing me getting a bit angry would be so scary for him, right?
Mhm.
So it's really okay. What does my and even if I get mad at my son, what we really decided is to be really honest. And there are many times that I just embrace him and Gray, I'm really sorry. Dad was this. I'm sorry I got mad. I mean, you have to treat your kid like a human being, because I think that's a very Filipino culture. Yung, I don't know the English, your child, you're just a child. Like, anak ka lang. That's how we treat, but that's how
Right.
our generations, the earlier generations, did to us as us Filipinos. So my wife and I really decided to, as he is growing up, we'll treat him like an adult, we'll treat him like he's smart. And my wife and I really pursue this concept of following the theology of sexuality. It's really not being scared about talking about sex, like what Pastor Dennis is saying. We actually kiss and we explain, mom and dad, we kiss, and so all of that, because what the devil wants is to subvert sexuality, to it to be something like hidden. So when he's a kid growing up knowing that sex is beautiful, and you wait for it to grow up, like, and I'm excited. I don't know, not really excited to tell him my escapades when I was younger. But if I just had that proper relationship with my dad to talk about, all these bad stuff and good stuff, I would probably, really waited for Viv. Because, as I shared before, I've had premarital sex and all of those, escapades before I really got into legit Catholic convert, like really getting into my Christian faith. So now we're really, um, I guess, to end it really, psychology says that how a kid perceives his parent, especially the dad, that's how he or she perceives God. So if the parent is angry, they will start thinking God is angry, because we're the primary authority figure growing up.
Mhm.
So I just want to know my son to know that we're loving parents, and no matter how much loving we are, we can never outlove God with how God loves him. So that's our parenting mindset.
Right, right. At this point, I want to assure you, Instructor Harold, that you are still part of the show, and that you
I'll
Thank
share
you.
videos to you on how to make babies, Harold. Like, I made some, censored everything. Just
Oh
kidding,
my
just
gosh,
kidding.
that sounds like the somatic stuff that Gina was talking about earlier. Please don't do
Brother JPaul.
that.
Pastor Dennis has a really wonderful book on sex, and I read it. It's really beautiful.
Why settle for good sex when you can have great sex?
Right.
He
Why
co-wrote it with
not?
his wife. Yes, Tammy. Okay, so let's get to the main question, which is yes, raising children with values in the new normal. And I think I want to start with a question. And, I'm asking this now to all of you who have children. How has the parenting thing changed since the new normal? What are the new challenges that you guys are facing now?
Well, for me, it would be I'm spending 24/7 with them now. So that's a different shift for me that I'm not in the office. This is now my office. This room is now my office, and they could come in anytime they want. And so we had to create rhythms and schedules so that we can still have quality time with them and quantity time with them. We always believe that quality time is quantity time. You can't say I've spent an hour with you today, so tomorrow we won't be spending time tomorrow since I've spent an hour with you. They'll still ask for that, right? And they would continue to look for that. So I think that's one major shift for me. Second would be because I'm always home now, there's more conversations happening. I'm actually enjoying now this work from home setup, something that I never thought that I'll experience. Like, it's so busy in church, doing ministry, ministering to many people, yet sometimes we tend to forget the most important people in our lives. And for my daughters to open up to me at night, or sometimes we would watch things that we cannot do before, we're able to do now at a much uh, more time and more space for us is truly something that I'm treasuring at this moment. So it's all positive for me, of course, except for those little dramas that I have with my daughters. And I think they're at that age now where they're, kind of like they're also processing so many things. And that's why I'm thankful to have a wife who loves to process things with them. And then I
Mm.
do the summary.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it sounds for the most part, it's been very positive for you, Pastor D. Gian, what about you? How has your parenting setup changed with this pandemic?
Well, it's a for me that's a loaded question because it
Mm.
has so many layers in my situation. I try my best not to make it maalaala mo kaya, okay? But honestly, also since we have three authoritative figures here, maybe they can really help me. Is this my session? But honestly, it's like this. Okay, so it has to. I can't just give one clear answer to it because it has a backstory. Really, well, one, I'm separated, but I'm separated, but we've never forgotten. We have an agreement as parents that we are parenting together. So that alone is a totally different situation to begin with. Uh, Hindi yung iniwan yung tatay, iniwan ng nanay. Hindi. Nandun si nanay at si tatay. And then, mom and dad are present in your life, son. So we are aware of how it's growing, how he's growing up, how we are parenting, and how he is growing up, and how he sees us, and how we want him to, how we're guiding him to see us. And we're also figuring it out. So it's a modern family. That's the first step of how that parenting is. So that's like the first layer. Okay. Second layer is like, okay, mom is with someone else and dad also is with someone else. And he has already established that, okay, we are with other people. Who are they? They are tito or dear tita. Okay. So that's another layer. Another layer. Okay, I have to tell this story, okay, to be able to answer the first question. The
Go ahead.
the next layer is we have very peculiar jobs. We are both artists, full-time artists who are actors, and the mom is an actress. She's a painter, full-time painter and an actress and a singer, who works at home and doesn't have a routine. I am a full-time actor and I'm a full-time singer and an artist, who makes this for a living. And one time my son asked me, Dad, who's your boss? I'm the boss. Like that's the boss. Like, so, oh, okay. So what do you mean by you're the boss? That's the boss. Let's say, yeah. So I've controlled my time, and how much, or how much I need to, for my business. I'm the business. Okay, and he had to grasp the concept of that in parenting also, correct? And another thing. Okay, I've been away. So I've having that circumstance, and we've been separated. I've been away for almost 4 years. I was an overseas Filipino worker in Hong Kong Disneyland and in Universal Studios, Japan. And I just got back 2017. And during that time, my parenting time, quality time and quantity time, was so precious because I would try to come back as much as I can, spend for FaceTime calls or gifts or anything that I could like be with my son. I'm there, like come home here even for just 1 day, 2 days, and we had to nurture that somewhat. And the thought of me coming home last 2017, my decision to come home, even if it was like somewhat, I felt like a bad financial decision. It was the best decision. It was the right decision because I had more time with my son growing up, because he was 9, 10, 11. Like these are like formative years. And do I want to be part of that? Yes. That's why I went home. That's why I didn't care how much I was going to make. I just needed to be present. But that was a struggle of being a provider also, because I'm the father. So parang balancing act sobra yung parenting, yung circus talaga. And not to mention, my son is going through all of this. And I'm sorry, son, like, that's why I'm like, parang, I'm anong naman yung pinagdadaanan niya? Pinagdadaanan niya rin to. So that's why there were days that parang I feel, very vulnerable. I feel, like parang I don't want to feel sorry for myself, but I just want to show him that we're making this work. Son, we're making this work. Dad's strong. And this is because I want to show him then, kasi at the end of the day, that we are going for our passions. That there is money and there is livelihood in what you love to do. And that's my, parang, yun naman din yung core ko. Na parang, look, this is what I'm doing, and we're able to send you to school and everything, living a life of a true artist, making it a livelihood, to go for your passion, because I want him also to do that. And I can only do that by example. And that the Philippines is just a dot in the world. So, parang those values all encompassed in what we do in parenting. The next,
there's
now?
more. Wow.
No,
okay.
Well, the final layer, or like just to answer your question, how is learning in the new normal now? Okay, it's online. But the situation is he doesn't live with me. He lives with the mom during weekdays and comes with me sometimes on the weekends to spend his, for the weekend, So I'm somewhat sometimes a weekend dad, but during the whole quarantine, he was with me. I'm saying this because probably a lot of parents probably are also in the same situation. We're not perfect routine parents, but somewhat I am trying to put a routine. We try to put a routine as much as possible because it really helps and it works for them. And the output, what's coming out now, is that my son is very independent. He has become very independent. He never needed a tutor. He never asked for anything. He never asked for anything. That's one thing. Never asked for a toy. Never asked for any gift like that.
Really?
So like, never. He grew up just like, I'm okay. And kami pa yung parang, what do you want? You just graduated grade school and he had good grades. What do you want? I'll think of something. He's that type of kid. And now he's enjoying the online thing because he loves computers, and that's how it is. But my question is, or like probably like how to answer, or like what I'm struggling with also now in another level is like, how is it different learning online now with being in a Catholic school or being in an ordinary homeschooled school, or like what are the difference din talaga? What are the values? I mean, first is tuition. It's like, mas mahal yung tuition fee doon. Pero sa bahay lang naman din sila pareho. So bakit? Bakit pa ako magbabayad ng ganun kalaki? I mean, I guess it's justified through what your perspective is as a parent. or what kind of values you want him to grow up with. Just like this recollection that just finished. So that's my that's my parenting journey. That that's why para mas maintindihan din how I can answer the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for being so open, about what your situation is.
No, but
I-
because it has. I feel like I need to tell that story so that parang yung pala yung pinagdadaanan niya as a parent. Kasi I can't give nice answers. My answers will not make sense if you don't know the story. So
Sure.
para somewhat story pa nga, diba? Somewhat story. And this is just the father's side. Wala pa yung story ni mommy. So malay ba natin bigla na lang hindi naman ata ganun yung tingin ko sa paglaki ng anak natin. Kasi it's not my wife diba?
Right,
So
right.
magkaibang pag sinabi kasi ni pastor na my wife thinks like that, nasa isang bahay sila Eto hindi Daddy and mommy, pero magkaiba. So hindi ako pwede mag-assume na yun ang sabi ni di ba? Parang mahirap siya, difficult siya, and it's not perfect. Oh, not perfect at all, but I'm telling you, it's really something that's it's we're living it.
It's a unique situation. Although, as you point out, I think, obviously there are people out there who are in similar situations as you. And as for the new situation with education, I feel like all parents in the world are probably asking this. Because yes, many schools have now shifted to the online format. What is my kid losing out on with the school situation as to now being home and having to do all that via a computer, all of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we can address like every single thing that you have presented to us, but let's just take the parenting angle of it, taking into account the situation that Gian is in. And I'm sure Pastor Dennis, Brother JPaul, and even you, Instructor Harold, just jump on in, okay? It's a concern for parents trying to raise kids today, indoors with values, losing that personal interaction they used to have. How do we make this work? It's a big ask, but maybe who wants to start? Yes, Brother JPaul.
I want to start with saying thank you, Gian. Just thank you so much for being so vulnerable. I really honor you, and in the ministry, I've met so many people who are a product of single, parents not staying together. But that's where God's grace comes in, and I really honor you and the baby mama you're just doing your best, and it might not seem that it's working, but God works in the background, and I'm sure He is blessing you. Just wanna share that word of hope. I'm sure all my brothers here will say something similar, because we journey with a lot of people with similar stories. It's never easy. Just in our ministry, the most active group, like small group, is the solo parent group, just because it's just so hard to be a solo parent. I mean, I'll start with a story. So my Gray loves dinosaurs. I think he's in that age, like everything dinosaur and everything.
Same, yeah.
And 99, Lazada 99. So my wife asked Gray, do you want a dinosaur? Because he only has a T-Rex and a Triceratops. That's it. So Gray, do you want a dinosaur toy? And my son said, yeah. All right. So they went on Lazada, and my wife just, because my wife is very patient. So he told me, never answer for your kid, because a lot of parents like, do you want cotton candy? Sometimes the kid waits, right? And then the bad kind of parenting now is you answer, or maybe you do this. So you have to really wait. You have to train your child to be sure to decide, because So anyway, all right. So do you want this, my son? No. So every toy, no. So my wife was so confused. You want a dinosaur, but you don't want that. So, and then my wife said, "What do you want?" She showed the gallery view. So my son looked at it, and then my son looked at my wife and said, "Mama," and then embraced her. And then my
Oh,
wife started crying. And it's like, oh, my wife told me sometimes we forget that toys will or things will complete our children, but love is enough. Our time, as
Mm.
was Pastor Dennis was saying, quantity time is quality time. It's what completes it. I've had, like, for example, I forgot what my shoes were when I was a kid. I forgot what toys I had. I forgot. People would forget all of those things, but they never forget summer vacations. They never forget these moments. They never forget all of those things. So no matter what generation you're in, no matter how what technology it is, old-fashioned family values will never go away. It's time, it's caring, it's listening. So yes, it's hard, friends, especially because you all have to use the internet, homeschooling, distance
Yeah.
learning. You want to watch your YouTube, you have to work. But at the end of the day, just offer your family to God, and it will work. I guess.
Mm.
I guess that's my answer. Yeah.
mhm. Okay. 40 minutes into recording for the first time. Everybody, please welcome Instructor Harold.
Yes. uh, Maybe it's something like the previous episode that we had, like about marriage. And since this is something that I have not experienced on my own, so most likely I'll be coming from that ideal setup. So for me, this is the time that we really have to go back to the Bible, that the parents are the ones to check what are the instructions or what do we see in the Bible that we can use in helping our children grow up with values. And aside from that, that spiritual aspect, we all have the basic needs, and that's why we have to eat. We need the food, and even we need the food at the proper time, because when we are still babies, we are supposed to drink milk. And whenever I say this, I always remember that commercial that breast milk is best for babies up to two
Up to two
years but
years.
but eventually, as the baby grows, it would have to the baby would eat something like a soft food. So sometimes we give them like a puree or something like that. And then as the baby grows, then we provide maybe a solid food that now the baby or the toddler can chew and then can eat it, because eventually our body needs healthy food. And that's why, as a parent, it's a duty of a parent to be able to provide that to the kids. And on the spiritual aspect, we also have a food at the proper time, because I don't want to go deep to do a deep dive about it, because in our center we do have a lesson that is focused on this topic. But anyway, what it means is that as we learn the word of God, it's also gradual. It's not
Mm.
right away you would have to eat a solid food. You would start with the milk, and then eventually when you get used to it and when you grow and become mature, you can then eat the solid food. And then as believers of God, we must also grow in a healthy way of our spiritual life. And how are we going to achieve that? It's when we receive the spiritual food, which we know is the word of God. And the word of God is also the spiritual seed. I'm sorry, I'm connecting everything, because this seed is the reason why we can say that God is our father. Thank you, brother JPaul. uh, that's why God is our father, and we became his children because we received the seed, and the father is the one who gives the seed. So the father should be the one to give the good example to his kids as well. And the father is someone who should be equipped. And that's why in the home, this is where education starts. And as a parent, we you are the ones to be able to really guide your kids. But we have to know the standards, because in this world there are so many standards. It could be the standard of our loved ones, the standard of our friends, or even standards of the society, of the culture that we know. But actually, when we are talking about the proper standard that has the values that we have to teach to our kids, it should be based on the standards of God. That's why the Bible is a very good source of it. And that's why during this lockdown, I really encourage everyone, especially parents, on how they can have this bonding moment with their kids and really spend quality and quantity time with them, because the role of a parent is to be able to guide their kids and let them grow healthy both physically and spiritually.
That was not bad for a non-parent, Instructor Harold. Not
Yeah.
bad at all.
You're ready. Ready. I have a list. You
And
know,
I feel like Gian, is here joining us for the first time, and he's hearing words like devil and seed.
And
Yeah.
the sea.
This is, you have been initiated into the narrow door world. Pastor Dennis, what do you have to say about raising kids with values in the new normal?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Gian, your situation is not the not the normal that we have. But then the principles behind parenting, there are universal principles that could actually work, right? Whether the setup's like that,
Yeah.
it's not the ideal setup for you guys. Yeah. So I think number one would be I remembered reading the book Wild at Heart, and it talks about how we need to father our sons. And for sons, it's really our language is more of affirmation. Like I could tell my two sons, I've got two sons, and I would say I love you to them all the time. But then if I tell my son, you know what, you're really good, you're really strong, then they show their muscles. It's just different. Their love is not I love you, it's I'm proud of you, you're strong, you can do it. And I'm trying to find many other creative ways on how to make
Mhm.
them feel that. And it's not false affirmation like what we have now, even though it wasn't good. I don't do that. If you sing out of tune, I don't say you're such a great singer. No, I don't do that. That would be detrimental to their health. All right. But yeah, but then there are many things that they do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis that I can actually get and say, you know what, you're really good at that. I remember there was one.
No,
I'm a Chinese.
you are? Then
Chinese dad like Korean. Yeah, yeah, right. And maybe for the ancient Chinese, there's no such thing as positive affirmation. You do negative affirmations. Reverse psychology. You're so stupid. So that will be challenged, and that's how we grew up. But there was only one time I could remember, one time in my life where my dad told me he was so proud of me, and that was a turning point in my life with my dad. I felt there was something that clicked there. He hugged me, never hugged me and said, "Son, I'm so proud of you." And that changed me, right? And as I would always say, that's like my eternal snack forever. I can always go back to my memory bank and say, my
why did
dad
you
was
do that?
proud of me,
I'm sorry.
right?
What did you
And
do?
I think that's something. I totally forgot. All I knew was the place. I knew the place. I knew how it happened. I was so shocked because he said that to me. So I forgot already whatever I did, but he was first time ever. And I think last time ever. But then it's there. And it changed me. And I think Gian, you can tell me how proud you are of me,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like a father affirming that. And I think that's something that you have. You've got a sword in you that can either
Yes.
sharpen your son or kill your son. Your words of affirmation is something that only you can give your son. I can't give that to your son. A podcast, an online learning cannot give that to your son. Only you can give that to your son. And I think that's something precious for us as fathers, right? And in terms of online learning, we've been homeschooling ever since, right? We've been homeschooling for the past 14
Yeah.
years.
Wow.
And yeah, so we've never made any adjustments,
Okay.
right? And but what we prioritize is number one, character,
Hmm.
uh, more than academics. My kids are high IQ. Got that from the mom's line, right? Not in our line, I'm sure of that, right? But more than the academics, it's really the character, because we can have the most talented, corrupt people run our nation, right? But
Yeah.
what we need are godly, God fearing, talented people, right? And so character is number one for us. we deal more with the character than the academics. Especially now, you can just Google everything,
Yes.
right? So if we have a topic, I can just Google how to raise your kids with values during COVID times, and that's my talking point for this show, right? Which I did not do, by the way. But it's so easy. Information's everywhere. But
Yeah.
character, something you cannot buy, something that only parents and people in authority can impart to their kids. And I think that's our role in whatever setup. It's the role of affirmation that only comes from a father, and the values that only we can impart to our kids.
You
It's
know, go ahead. Yes, Gian, go ahead.
sorry. Just to add to that, actually, um, yun nga, I mean, like, I haven't really. It's been an on and off experience with my son, like bringing him to church, for example, every Sunday. Well, especially now, there's no church yet, I guess, open, and but we always used to go beside the one beside Ateneo, where that's where he goes to school, and um, it's weird because it's an experience. Church for me and my son has become different types of situations, and it's been like me going with him, just me and him, or sometimes me and my family, or probably he goes with his mom, or just with my parents. Parang ganon yung nangyayari. But one of the things that just to connect to what you said about character building is that, well, because I'm in theater, and that's what my son knows so much about, I guess, what I do. And then one time he asked me about, like, Dad, how do you get into character? And then I go, well, because character, to build a person, to build a character, it's really just made out of choices. Choices you make. Choice if you have a limp. Choice if where he came from, what's his favorite color, and everything like that. And that's actually somewhat how I related his walk also, his faith, with what kind of character you want to be, son. I told him that because, like, for example, the character he chose, because he saw me in these shows. How come Jack Kelly is like this in Newsies, and how come Hector Samala, or like all these characters I played? That's what he saw of me. And they said, Haley, hey, you have to know what character you are. Who is Haley Magdangal? Because that is Jack Kelly. That's what Dad portrayed. But Dad is this character, also trying to make choices. So the choices mold the character, and that's how I probably.
Nice.
What choice are you going to make for your character, so that I can see who you are, the role that you are in your life, and that's how I use. That's why I've been thankful for, like, that's why I always show to him that I'm thankful for what my craft is, because it also has really, like, helped me in not just in being a parent, but be also in faith and in everything else. Parang somewhat related din lahat yan eh. Parang ganun.
That's
Anyway,
a
yeah.
beautiful connection that you made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, and it's really, you realize it in the most peculiar times, because I didn't like the character that I was portraying. I didn't like to be that person. And I actually had to tell him that, Haley, you saw Dad portray this character, and it's not a good character. Okay? Kasi ang dami kong mga role na kontrabida ako eh. So parang hindi siya magandang example. So I had to constantly tell him, okay, you see me in this, son, but don't do this. That's not the character that Dad is. It's just a character on stage to tell a story. So parang relating that to, like, what character he can be, or what he should be growing up. Like, GMRC, good manners, right conduct, and all, mga sa Lasal ganun eh, di ba? GMRC. Parang naging bill na rin ata eh, di ba? Naging bill na ba? O, di ba? Parang itaguyod ang GMRC, good manners, right conduct.
No, I love that. I love that you made that connection. I kind of feel like we came full circle in this conversation. And I think I started out thinking, gosh, yeah, this must be so challenging, and new normal and pandemic. But I think through our conversation, I kind of shifted to a position where, you know what, this could be kind of ideal. It depends on what you make of it. And I say that not trivializing the challenges that are present, because I'm not a parent, and so I can really only imagine. But I'm sure it is challenging. Everyone is adjusting to a new situation, and having to have the children, with you 24/7, as much as you love them.
Yes.
It could drive you a little crazy, and I can understand that as well. But I think there are some positives to this situation as well. And as a father, and we've talked about this many times on the show, because we are a Christian podcast, and obviously we talk about God and our relationship with Him, and the importance of the father-child relationship comes up a lot because it is a reflection of our relationship with God. And so, Gian, as a father, you are in a unique position to mold the character
Yeah.
of your child. Peer pressure is our
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's not
peer pressure.
peer pressure. Um, but as Instructor Harold pointed out earlier, we do have the Bible that we talk about a lot on the show as well, which gives us direction and guidance. And it's something that we are still all in the process of learning. And so, with that, I just want to thank you and coming here
But
to share with us your journey.
just-
Yes, Ian.
I just want to add one thing based on everything that I heard and we were discussing, and that it is the new normal, yes. But one thing that I think a lot of people are forgetting then about the new normal, which I realize so much, is because before the new normal, I always didn't have enough time. I always busy. I had to be in a show, and all of my work is, being a performer. It's like I have to be there. I can't be there. I can't be with you. I have to be there. I have to be. It's always a have to be thing, and time has never been on my side. So it was always precious, and it was always somewhat parang monetized na yung oras ko. But now, being a parent and be having all the time now, it has to parang it's a good way actually to see that time is on our side now. And it's up to you what to do with your time. As whatever hat you put on, what role you are in, you're portraying actually. And that's what we forget. And I'm also telling this to myself because sometimes like me, I've only had little time with my son. Now that I have all the time with my son, it actually, there's more pressure for me to, okay, now what am I gonna do? I have more time with him na eh. so parang yun din, it's like one, just to share about like how the new normal is. Time is on our side. It's right now because we can do what we want now. Somewhat like how to deal with this so much time that we have and isolation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I hope this conversation has helped you in some way to give you maybe a direction that you would like to take this,
Yes.
raising your child with values in the new normal. We have to wrap the show already. We've been talking close to an hour. Where do we find you? Please come back and, keep us posted on
Sam,
this.
can I say something to Gian? Is it
Absolutely.
okay? Just 1 minute. I just really want to honor Gian because I caught something that he said that I really love. That it's about him explaining to Haley, to his son, that about roles, and I think that's where a lot of parents get it wrong. So, for example, me, I'm a preacher. I have a business, so that's my role when I'm outside. But at home, my role is husband and dad. Sometimes people forget to put off whatever role they have outside. Like at home, there's still a manager. At home, there's still a CEO. At home, there's this and that. But at home, you're dad, your
Yeah.
mom, you're a parent, and you can't be bossy. And I just really want to honor Gian because, um, you don't have to have a perfect life to be a good parent, and that's what I really see that you guys are doing as a parent. Gian, want to honor you for that, and really,
Thank you.
God
Thank you.
bless you, man.
Yeah. Instructor Harold, maybe you want to add anything too before we really wrap?
No, I just really admire what he is doing with his kids and with his kid and how he is
It's ready
making
for
him
more.
real
Prophecy.
prophecy and it will have a fulfill. But anyway, because your role as a parent is really important, and I like how you make Haley understand it on the level that he can. Because
Yes.
even when you give something so important and yet it's something that he cannot understand, then it's going to be nonsense. So I really admire you raising your kid with good values.
Yeah. Yay, Gian, we're
Thank
so
you.
happy you joined
Yeah,
us
He did
today.
the Korean
Yeah.
heart.
Korea, yeah. For
Yay.
Sam. But I
Thank you.
really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I listened to all of of your teachings, and I'm really thankful. And believe me, I'm always all ears about these things. And when you, Sam, actually asked me to be part of this, I was really a little bit anxious about it, or like kind of like nervous. No, not anxious, like more of like nervous about it, because I've never, I'm learning, So it really helps also that like parang okay, may konting affirmation din. May konting affirmation na parang okay, parang siguro okay naman to, no? Yung parang ganun. Kasi I mean, there's so many things to be anxious about during this pandemic, and we don't need one more thing to be anxious about. So if something can get, if we can help each other and helping other people, getting all of these anxiousness one by one off our shoulders, whatever role it may be in our lives, especially with those we love the most, and how we can deal with it and how we can manage it, actually, especially with our kids, and that would be a really big help to a lot of people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gian. I think that's a great note to end on. And yeah, I feel like, I'm on a journey as well, and I am constantly learning on this podcast. And I'm so glad that you joined us. So you're our first celebrity guest.
Thank you very much.
Title that
JPaul,
is yours. So yeah, where do we find you, Gian?
Oh, well, I'm on Instagram, Gian Magdangal, at Gian Magdangal. That's on Instagram. I also have a Facebook and YouTube page, Gian Magdangal pa rin. And that's the only name I use.
Okay.
Yeah. But
And-
Gian
yeah.
Magdangal. And
Gian
also,
Magdangal.
my music's on Spotify. I'm coming out with new music also. So yeah, that's what's up. Well, can I plug just one thing? I did this musical, Ang Huling El Bimbo, the musical. It was
Yes.
streamed. We were in Resorts World, and now we're streaming it again. And it's going to be on TFC and I Want, so it's going to be seen worldwide, especially to our Filipinos.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be on
Really
September.
amazing. Really amazing show.
Yeah, and it touched the story is so the story is what really drives it, and how it moves a lot of people also, dahil ito ay para sa paghanap ng totoo nating ligaya sa buhay natin. And minsan nakakalimutan natin 'yun, at minsan huli na. So hindi dapat natin intayin kung na nahuli na yung lahat para maabot yung, or makita or makuha natin yung or maalagaan ang ligaya, yung totoong ligaya sa buhay natin. We cannot wait for the huling El Bimbo,
Yeah,
So yeah, so I hope you guys watch that also.
Very. Is this a
Sample.
At wala malay. Yeah.
Is this online as well?
Yes, it's online. I Want and TFC, the Filipino
Okay.
channel.
All right. Very cool. All right. What about you guys, my friends? Where do we find you, Pastor Dennis?
Yeah, I have my play now coming up. NBA 2K21
All right.
with my son.
Triangle defense. Online na yan.
Yeah, just watch us at Victory Green Hills for our latest online sermons and online service.
Brother JPaul.
Hi, JPaul Hernandez, JPaul Hernandez, social media, and I'm also playing 2K21 with my son. I'm teaching him, so
Dapat pala
not preparing
mag-connect
for
na
my
tayo.
talks anymore.
Mag-connect na NBA 21 eh.
Pwede.
Instructor Harold.
Okay, yes, you can shoot us an email, contact.nishanaph@gmail.com, or you can send me a message in Facebook, Harold Recio, and Instagram, Harold Recio.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you again, Gian, for making time for us. And
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care as I care.
Just always pray at night.